So, what the fuck is Moldova anyways? Well, apparently it is the least visited country of Europe. That alone should be a slogan used for dropping them off that first place to begin with. For those who don't yet know, Moldova is a small sunny country in Europe, squeezed in between Romania and Ukraine. Beautiful location. Moldova actually comes in two countries, actual Moldova and the autonomous region Pridnestrovskaya Moldovskaya Republika, or Transnistria, marked in red. Although Transnistria has declared independence, it is still considered by many as a breakaway state more than a formal country by itself. You know, a country that doesn't exist. But no matter, the practicalities concerning Transnistria still take on form as if it was an independent country. They have their own borders, their own government, president, currency, you name it. But Pridnestrovia, or Transnistria, along with its capital Tiraspol, will be covered in a separate video. I was there a few years ago, sadly only a couple of days, I realize now. I drove a rental car from Ukraine through Pridnestrovia or Transnistria into Kishinev, and in Odessa the night before I was to drive off to Moldova, there was some sort of news about some political instability or something, people gathering in front of the House of Parliament and so on and so forth, and discouragement to go to the center of the city. And I thought, for fuck's sake, that's exactly where I'm going. And I asked people around, like, do you know anything about this? And everybody kept saying, don't go to Moldova, you know, it's unsafe, you shouldn't go there, people are hot-blooded, they're quick-tempered, they, you know, don't go, you shouldn't drive alone, women shouldn't drive alone, it's dangerous and they drive crazy, and you don't go, you should stay in Odessa instead. Yeah, thanks. I've already made all the arrangements, so I got no answers from that. However, at the hotel I was staying at, there were a couple of Moldovan guys that were going to drive the same day to Kishinev, and they said, yeah, you can you know, ride with us. And I said, I'm sorry, I have my own car. Well, you know, just follow us. And I said, okay, well, that's very kind of you, sirs. But the thing is, they were leaving in the evening, and I have to leave by morning because I had to be in Moldova by evening. Anyways, so I drove off and I said, okay, you know what, fudge this. Well, of course I was anxious. New place, new country, not my car. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. Apparently it seems that I'm getting myself into something. Especially since I also read warnings about not driving through Pridnestrovia. You should probably drive around, like circle around Transnistria altogether because it is dangerous. I don't really know what they were referring to, but apparently it was very dangerous. So I got to the Ukrainian border. In order to drive on the Moldovan roads, you have to buy sort of a waiver because they don't have road tolls, which you would have in some other countries, and so you pay for using the roads. Now you pay this waiver, you can do it easily online, and I did it online. Got a receipt, and it wasn't more than a couple of euros, maybe. It's not a sum that I remember even. And I come to the Ukrainian border. I get all my Transnistrian waiver, because Transnistria is still a different country that does not accept the Moldovan road waiver because they build their own road. So I have to have a Transnistrian road waiver for driving on their roads. And that's also like a euro maybe or something. It wasn't much. Anyways. And I crossed there. There's not a long line at the Ukrainian border. There are a lot of people walking, like back, like crossing the borders on foot. It's completely hassle-free. The only thing that they say is that you need to have a Moldovan entry stamp. You need to get a Moldovan entry stamp. And I make sure that I get one. Because you're not entering Moldova, you're entering Pridnestrovia or Transnistria. And so they will also give you separate documentation. So as I come out of Pridnestrovia, I enter formal Moldova. Please forgive my use of terms here, but I am a foreigner. And the customs are a bunch of booths on the side of the road with a huge parking lot. There's a lot of Tonka truck traffic going on here. And at the moment it's completely empty. I mean, there are no people there. So I walk up to the booth and there's an older guy who points me to that booth. And I go to that booth and there's a woman sitting there whose name is Vera, I believe. She speaks English, which is surprising to me, probably since I've just spent a lot of time in the Ukraine where essentially nobody speaks English. And she seems to be very curious and very interested in what I'm doing, and to be honest, I'm not really sure myself. Do I know anybody in Moldova? I said no, I'm just to travel. And she finds it very intriguing, which I can understand, seeing as I guess it's not like I'm a pioneer in traveling alone, but I guess they don't see that many women traveling alone in a rented car crossing from Ukraine to Moldova. So in that sense, it might be inspiring for her to feel like, hey, if you can do it, why couldn't I do it? I can do it. She stamps my papers and all that. Everything is fine. And her superior, the guy who had pointed me to her booth, he comes up and starts yelling at her for taking too much time. And he's yelling at me for chatting. And there is nobody else in line still. But we're forbidden sort of to speak to each other because, well, he doesn't speak English, and so he probably feels like even if he's her superior and he doesn't speak English, that makes him look a little bit less competent. And what if we speak about him? And, there's insecure man who doesn't like when women talk or women act like human beings, more or less. So anyways, I thank Vera for a very interesting conversation. And I am on my way to Kishinev. To my misfortune, though, at peak hours. And during peak hours, I recommend nobody drive in Kishinev. My Ukrainian SIM card stopped working, although they had advertised that particular SIM card works fine in Moldova too. So I resorted to some saved maps that I had on me. And I reached the city center where you had so many one-way streets, and I was to meet with my host of the apartment that I was gonna rent. Oleg, I believe his name was. I never did. Well, I did later on, but